Well, very good to join you, Kay, as always. Actually, hasn't been anywhere near as extreme here in Torvine as some of these situations I've just been seeing on your screen, and particularly awful, actually, to see that scene I think you've just shown of a toddler in a car. You could just see, couldn't you, the child seat in that image? And big thanks really to the emergency services for the fantastic work that they've clearly done saving that person. I think it's a reminder, as you've been pointing out, that it isn't just the disruption that many people are caused. There's real dangers in whether it's Storm Henk or indeed some of the other extreme weather that we're seeing in the winter. And we've really got to do all we can to prepare more thoroughly for it in advance of winter, I think.
Yeah, and busiest week generally this week, first week in January for the NHS. They're busy doing other things. They don't have the capacity to deal with people being injured with a storm. Obviously, they will. They're angels, every one of them, and they'll do what they possibly can. But junior doctors have chosen this week to take 6 days of strike action, supported by Labour.
Well, look, I don't want to see this strike, this 6-day strike taking place with, of course, the disruption that all strike action has that comes with it. But it's the government upon whom the responsibility lies now for getting back around the table. The issue with the government has been on strikes. They've either not engaged at all, or they've been passing aggressive legislation to make the situation worse.
So what would you guys do?
Has to. Sorry, Kay, I didn't quite catch that.
What would you guys do then? We know it's easy for you guys to kick the Tories. What would you do?
Well, firstly, we certainly wouldn't have been passing the aggressive legislation making the situation worse the Conservatives have done. But secondly, you need to do that hard work around the negotiating table. We've been realistic. We wouldn't be able to match a 35% increase in pay. But bear in mind, too, that's an opening bid in a negotiation. And what we would be doing is actually putting those hard hours in to prevent strikes from happening in the first place. And even now, we see this morning the BMA Junior Doctors Committee saying about the government coming back around the table. That's what the government has to do. They have to put that work in to try and finally find that landing zone. I'm not suggesting it's a space that everyone's comfortable with, but it's something everyone can live with and move on.
OK, just to take you back to the start of that answer, are you saying that Labour, even when you become the next government, would override the legislation that has been introduced by the government about strike action?
Yes, and we've said that would be the case. The government has got itself into completely the wrong position on this.
Do that straight away?
Look, there'll be huge competing priorities on any Labour government, but of course, getting public services back on their feet is a huge priority for us. That includes making sure.
So you do it in your first term, then, is what I'm saying.
Yes, you could say yes, but the point that I'm making is that, firstly, with our public services, we want them to be back on their feet. People are paying at the moment record high amounts in tax burden at a record high, and getting so little back in terms of public services. And that isn't the fault of people who work in the public services. It's the product of 13, now 14 years of Conservative government that has not produced the growth we need, so we have the money to invest.
OK, I'm just looking at the ad spend on Facebook, £100,000, 49 adverts in December alone by the Conservative Party. They've spent £30,000 on Facebook ads promoting Rishi Sunak in the space of a week. They're coming for you.
If only they spent more time on governing and less time in this way, just constantly thinking about different ways of electioneering, the country might actually be in a far better place. And I think what that demonstrates is that this is a government that has ceased to govern in any meaningful way. And frankly, the sooner they bring on that general election, the better. The Prime Minister is constantly talking about a general election in May. I say, bring it on. Let this be the year of change that the country so desperately needs.
And to that end, the boss is making a speech tomorrow about cronyism.
Yes, so Keir will be making a speech. And I think what he'll be highlighting is the way in which this government has denigrated the sense of public service. And we only have to think about what they've done to standards in public life. When you've seen ministers in the course of this parliament breach the ministerial code, but it was the independent advisor on ethics who walked away, not the minister concerned at the time. So what you will find Keir talking about is a new ethics and integrity commission to really be properly independent and robust. An indication from Keir, someone whose life has been about public service, whether that's as a lawyer, as director of public prosecutions, but how he is going to restore that integrity to public life. Because when we're knocking on doors, we find people saying almost despairingly to us, can things be better? Things can be better, but that's why we need that general election and change as soon as possible.
OK, good to talk to you as always. Hopefully see you on the sofa very soon. Thanks very much indeed. Thanks a lot. Happy New Year.